Welcome back to the Mobius podcast, where we talk about mostly Sonic comics, but it is just sort of a Sonic podcast in general. As always, I am joined by a guest.
Am I even a guest at this point? I'm just like
A guest on the channel, but I guess not in this series.
Nah.
We might have to start doing actual introductions in the next episode, but whatever.
Who cares? That is then. This is now.
Indeed. The last video we talked about Sonic the Hedgehog number 268, the first part of Champions, and in this one we're going to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog number 269, the second part of Champions.
Ooh, yay.
Because that's how chronology works.
Yep.
As always, we're going to be briefly talking about the events of the issue, skimming over and giving you the general summary of what's going on, with minimal content and panels showing. So what we're talking about is not necessarily always going to be shown on screen.
And of course, since we are talking about the issue, once again, spoilers.
Yep, and make sure if it interests you in any way, go buy the issues. Either directly through a subscription on Archie's website, because you can do that, or through TFAW, like I do.
Or you can download comics digitally. That works too.
Yeah, you can get them on Comixology. I imagine there are other digital platforms out there as well, but Comixology is the big one.
I have the Sonic comic app. Had the Sonic comic app.
Oh yeah, there's that one too. I don't like to read comics on my phone.
Yeah, it's there for when there's nothing else to do at the time, but we're getting sidetracked. Let's start Champions Part 2.
Yep. Like the last issue, this one begins with a flashback to the Sonic 2 Game Gear game.
This is going to be a reoccurring thing. Every part of Champions starts with a flashback explaining, either backstory or just backstory.
Some more pointless than others.
Yep, and here we're at the end of Sonic 2 Game Gear.
This one basically exists to show that, Breezy was working for Robotnik the entire time and tricked Sonic.
Yup.
And then after that one's over, we cut back to Casino Park, wherein Sonic is in the middle of his match against Sega the Sanshiro.
And he loses, which is bullshit.
Well, it's clear he was holding back.
Of course, he can't hurt Sega's mascot.
If he unleashed his full power, the world would collapse.
Yes, he has to throw the match for Sega's mascot, obviously.
Yeah. Plus, it's possible that this isn't even the real Sega the Sanshiro.
I don't know. Maybe he is.
Could be just this dimension's version of him.
Maybe it's his son, who's training to be as great as his father.
But we'll never truly get there.
Sadly.
Wow.
Where were we? Ah, yes. Amy pretty much tells Sonic, hey, it's nighttime, you might want to skedad.
And in a very, very funny panel, he just kind of realizes it without changing his facial expression, and then is fucking gone.
Yep. And then it looks like he jizzed or climaxed into the werewolf form.
Kinda, yeah. He just barely makes it back to his room, by the way, before he transforms.
Yes. And then he watches TV.
Yeah. I think he's supposed to be watching... I think he might actually supposed to be watching the other broadcasted matches, but they don't really make it clear.
No, I like how he stretches his arms out to turn on the TV. That's cute.
Yeah, if I had stretchy arms, man, I'd do that all the time.
What wouldn't you do with stretchy arms?
Good point. There's a lot of stuff you could do with stretching arms.
I will take a bite out of that gum any day, but I digress.
After that, we see Amy's fight, which is over in about 4 seconds.
And
At least
we have
see
another
the tail end of it anyway.
And we have another Fighting Vipers cameo.
I don't know anything about Fighting Vipers, so...
I just know that this is another reference to Fighting Vipers, this Hog character. I forget what her name is.
If I look it up, I'll put a thing on screen that's like, this is the name of the character.
Yes. And Espio's watching her because reasons.
Because he's Espio, he watches things.
He's a ninja.
Then we cut to Knuckles, who distracts a woman so Chip can steal the Master Emerald shard around her neck, which is I don't know why, but very funny to me.
It is very funny, and it reminds me of that one scene in Sonic X where Knuckles like goes into some club or whatever.
It's been a while since I've seen Sonic X, so I don't.
I think it was like in the Japanese version only, but
well, I've never seen the Japanese version either, so
meh. Anywho, Knuckles monologues a bit.
Yeah. Then he notices Tails on the monitor.
Yep.
And Scratch comes up and is like, "Hey, you're gonna be late for your fight."
And they make it look like he's gonna, try to throw Knuckles out.
Yeah. Knuckles is obviously incredibly confused because he didn't sign up.
Yeah.
But he just kind of goes along with it.
Yep. And then we begin our fight with Honey and Tails.
Which is going, like, fairly decently for both ends. And then Tails falls for the classic "look over there" trick and loses because of it.
Because good job, Tails. Also another Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog reference. Man, this is just full of references.
Yeah, also that teleportation thing that Honey does right before she knocks out Tails. I don't know why, but the style of that teleportation, or not really the movement, reminds me a lot of the Scott Pilgrim novels, specifically the movements that Roxy Richter does.
Yeah, it was like, what dark magics is she using? Also, Honey's a bitch and she loves it.
Yeah.
Also, hilarious panel with Cream screaming about her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Tails like Cream, but I digress.
And the dialogue after the fight, by the way, launched not quite a legion, but a small amount of Tails and Honey shippers.
I'm not surprised.
Certainly more realistic ship than Espio and Elise, though.
Yeah. Speaking of Espio.
Yeah, then he starts fighting Bean. For a while, Bean is pretty distracted, but then Bean manages to trip him and get him out of the ring and win.
I don't know what the hell was going on in Espio's mind when he started to freak out.
I don't know.
And then Bean just has this great gotcha look.
Yeah, Bean has a lot of really funny moments in this arc.
Honestly, the expressions in this are pretty good again, but we'll save that for the art.
Yep. And for the final fight of the issue, we get a very short Knuckles and Bark polar bear battle.
A very short but enjoyable. I just love these two powerhouses just smashing each other in the face.
Yeah, it's the only fight in the issue that has like no dialogue in it.
Yeah,
it's just fighting, and we get a very funny cutaway panel of Omega, Rouge, and Shadow watching the fight.
Rouge and Omega are loving it. Shadow's
just like, fuck this, man.
I'm guessing he's still salty over the events of Total Eclipse.
Possibly.
Then Knuckles beats Bark after both of them get the hell beaten out of each other, and then our group of heroes
beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah, they beat the shit out of each other. Then our heroes just talk to each other about things.
About mostly the lineup and how Amy is having to fight Knuckles and Honey's gonna have to fight Sonic.
And then the issue ends with Fang talking to Eggman and Metal Sonic still being on his way.
Still will not amount to anything for another 2 issues.
Yup.
But this part I think is a lot better than the first, mainly because things actually happen in it.
Yeah, part 1 was just set up.
Yeah, although I addressed this when I originally reviewed the issue back when it came out, and this applies to the rest of Champions as well to an extent, but in this issue especially, because most of this issue is fighting, and there is such a thing as too much action, and there comes a point when it's just kind of overwhelming and it gets a little dull.
I said this in the previous part, but I don't mind because 1, this is an adaptation of Sonic the Fighters, and well, most of it is gonna be fighting, and 2, it's nice to have something that doesn't have our heroes having to constantly, save the day and whatnot. Again, this is just a little fun breather before, the crossover.
Yeah, although I feel that like doing an adaptation of Sonic the Fighters is inherently kind of flawed because you're gonna have a lot of fighting, and so it's just gonna be a lot of action, which eventually is gonna get stale. It's just a flaw that is going to happen when you adapt to like a fighting game.
Yeah. But,
It doesn't ruin the issue though. It's still good.
and it's still a good issue. Still very fun to read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On art, we've still got Diana Skelly.
And
Still very, very good.
still very good, and everything we said here just applies and then some.
Yeah, I feel like she tweaked her art a little bit from the last issue, and it's a little more her style. Because in the first issue, there's a little bit of Tracy Yardley kind of in there,
Yeah.
but with this one, it's pretty much
so
all
much
her.
more of just her. Although Bark looks a little weird,
Yeah. Just
but
a
it's
bit.
not really a big issue.
Yeah. Art's good, and it will continue to be good.
Covers are pretty good too, except for the variant.
I don't really like the covers all that much. The main one is just Sonic's face.
Okay, yeah, that one's a bit boring, but still better than the variant.
The variant is more exciting. It's just not drawn very well. The variant is a T-Rex cover, which T-Rex does a lot of variants, and most of them aren't very good, if you ask me.
I like how Silver is just there, but his face is completely covered up.
Yeah. But the covers, they certainly do exist. Not really much to say about either of them.
They're just not that interesting.
Yeah.
But I guess that's it for Champions. Final thoughts?
Well, that's Champions Part 2 anyway. We still got 2 more issues to go.
Okay, that's half of Champions. Final thoughts on the issue? Oh wait, we should save our final thoughts for the Part 4.
Yeah.
I'm
This
getting...
issue is alright. Better than the first, but it has an inherent problem of just having a bit too much action and being kind of dull.
I still think it's a very fun issue.
Yeah. It's not terrible. It's hardly the worst the series has ever done.
Far from it.
We'll get to that at some
We'll go
point
back to the past for some of that.
to read the shitty issues that suck ass.
I'd rather have... I'd rather not, actually.
I'd rather not sing. Doing my best to keep this on a time limit. But that's it for Champions Part 2. We'll see... on screen you'll find links to both of the last videos, which were Sonic Universe number 82 and Sonic the Hedgehog number 268. In the description you'll find links to both of our Twitter accounts, and as well as Chris's YouTube account.
Woohoo.
And we will see you guys next time on Champions for Sonic the Hedgehog number 270.
Booyah.
Do do do.